Hello and welcome to ETH Insights, where the leaders of today explore the ideas that will shape tomorrow. In a world increasingly being defined by Gen AI, cloud migration, and hyperconnectivity, the stakes for cybersecurity have never been higher. Today, we are joined by Pradeep Sekar, Managing Director at Optiv Inc., a firm at the front line of enterprise security. In this conversation, we will explore how businesses should rethink the balance between agility and assurance, how cyber defense strategies must evolve with geopolitical risks, and what it takes to lead in an era where technology outpaces regulation. Thank you for joining us today, Pradeep.
Thank you.
Pradeep, by first, let's start with the macro view, right? So, so innovation versus security, it is often seen as a trade-off. How do you see the dynamic between the two, and what does the balance between the two look like in practice?
Okay. Yeah, it's a great question. And like you rightly said, that's something that business leaders continue to balance the two because the urgency for balancing, right? And again, when I say balance, it's striking the right balance between AI-driven innovation and security has never been higher. And the reason being, when you look at today's organizations, they have their internal boards and executive leaders now openly supporting and championing AI and usage of AI within critical business processes. And the reason being, they want to unlock efficiency gains and productivity gains within their product development pipelines as well as service delivery lines, right? And when they do that, right, and businesses move fast without the right guardrails, what we have seen often happen is privacy violations, we've seen model manipulation, we've also seen data leakage, and even ethical issues at times, right? So what we see organizations do and what we believe organizations need to have is a good AI governance in place, right? And what that means is having an active AI risk committee. And using the AI risk committee, they start reviewing and decisioning risk classification tiers for the different AI use cases so they can approve those that is within acceptable risk levels within an organization, right? One other thing that we see and feel organizations need to do is implement defense in depth as well as put in secure by design principles in their AI development pipeline, right? Because what this does allows them to do is ensure they can protect their AI ML training data and models from manipulation or theft. So at the end of the day, it's definitely going to be a conundrum, but I think the need for balancing it has never been more urgent.
Pradeep, nowadays innovation cycles they are reducing. In such a scenario, how do you operationalize foresight? What are some of the frameworks or models that you would recommend to, again, balance near-term agility and long-term risk resilience?
Yeah. So again, it comes back to the question of balance, right? So what we have seen organizations and successful organizations do, and even Optiv, we have built our own AI applications, and we have a little bit of lived experience to that. And what we have seen when we support our client organizations successfully do, I believe there is a few, I would say, successful principles that they end up implementing, right? Um, One is allowing for rapid experimentation for AI using AI sandboxes. And what this allows them to do is ensure they put in the right access controls, observability controls in place so they can look at and ensure data masking in place so you can secure and safeguard innovation. The second one I would say is applying threat modeling techniques on AI ML systems so that they can model their worst case misuse before they can scale their systems to production. The third one is I think organizations need to start treating training data, user input data, the inference data, all of these as critical security assets, and they're rightly so. The fourth one I would say is more around implementing secure by design principles, like I mentioned. And what that means is designing secure APIs, putting in explainability, as well as documenting security in your model documentation. And finally, last but not the least, I would say organizations need to treat the entire AI ecosystem, govern the entire ecosystem, and not just code, right? And when organizations do this, we see they're able to balance innovation versus long-term security risk, right? Because what they need today is more around being able to identify risks and be risk aware so they can start progressing along their AI journey, right? And successful organizations, and as well as what we have seen organizations do, is use a few commonly available security frameworks, right? So one, the most common and most popular one that we have seen organizations use is the AI Risk Management Framework, or the AI RMF, by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST in the US. Now that focuses on trustworthiness, security, of course, resilience, and explainability, all key characteristics that you would want in an AI system. The second common one, which is global in nature, is from the ISO, the International Standardization Organization. They've come up with the ISO 42001, right? And that standard is for AI management system, and it provides guiding principles on how you implement and manage AI systems by bringing in controls, whether it being data protection controls, access controls, as well as traceability controls. Now, in this journey, this is where again Optiv has helped clients along this journey, because we have a world-class AI risk services offering, and we help companies by putting in the right security guardrails so they can move fast on their AI journey. Now, the way we do it is we look at AI risks and AI related risks in three lenses, right? One we call the user AI, the second one is product AI, and the third one is enterprise AI. Now, what I mean by user AI is when we look at employees and partners within organizations, now they end up using either on personal devices or company issued devices. They end up interacting with AI applications, right? Now these could be using OpenAI's ChatGPT, or Google Gemini, Claude's Anthropic's Claude, or even Meta's Llama, right? But what happens is the need is more around to sensitize these users to not put in protected or confidential information as system prompts, right? Because a case in point is what happened with Samsung R&D India in 2023, right? Wherein employees put in sensitive proprietary code using ChatGPT, and that got leaked. So that's where user AI comes in. The second lens that we look at is product AI, right? So we work with companies and organizations to look at how they end up using products and services, right? And which of these products and services have AI embedded in them or enabled by them, right? Because today, in today's organization, modern organization, almost all the products and services they touch happen to have some form of AI in it, right? And the reason we do that is because it expands the external attack surface, and for us to manage it, we would need to understand what are those exposures that's coming in. So an example here for product AI is, take for example Zoom, right? Now every organization today, most organizations use Zoom as their conferencing application, and when they do, they're using it to run meetings, and the meetings are recorded. Now Zoom is an amazing note taker feature, which using it at the end of the meeting immediately provides you a transcript, and it also gives you an action points on which speaker, what they said, and what are the action points, which basically eliminates the need for somebody to take minutes of the meeting, right? That's an amazing use case and beneficial for organizations. But one of the things that came along with it was you or organizations accepting to Zoom's terms of service, which was allowing Zoom AI to be trained using the meeting recordings that you have gone through, right? So it's more about, do organizations have they willingly and understood the risk of accepting and working with these external third party and other product AIs, and what are the risks that they bring, right? That's the second lens, right, that we use. The third one is enterprise AI, which is where organizations are looking to build their own AI assistants, AI applications, chatbots, or agents. And when they do, how do they put in the right security controls? And that's where Optiv partners with these organizations to provide risk management services around AI, right? How do you build your AI risk management program? How do you do AI risk assessments? How do you do vendor AI risk assessments? How do you do threat modeling for AI systems, and also AI penetration testing services, to just name a few? So together, we believe the ability to anticipate long-term security risks is going to be key to also foster innovation in the right way.
We're talking about the ecosystem, right? The larger AI ecosystem. Be it, so you've spoken about from user perspective, product, and enterprise. But today, cybersecurity is shaped as much by geopolitics as by code. Right. So, in such a scenario, how do you see the cross-border collaboration evolving between governments, enterprises, cybersecurity firms, and what edge do you think a market like India has, not just to react to changes but also lead? And how can it safeguard its own cyber infra?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, these are interesting times, right? So I believe we are living in an era where we have AI arms races, we have supply chain nationalism going all around. Um, we also have nation state cyber mercenary activity, right? Now, all of this is forcing governments, the private sector, and even cybersecurity companies like Optiv to collaborate, work together so that we can strengthen the entire digital ecosystem, right? Rightly so, because today cybersecurity is a core pillar of national security because cyber is everywhere, right? Whether you look at cloud, ISPs, whether you look at energy, finance, healthcare, everything is touched by cyber and cyber related risks. So governments have started to and will continue to mandate having data residency requirements. They will have local key encryption key ownership requirements, as well as they would want sovereign cloud infrastructure so they can build in trusted ecosystems within their jurisdiction, right? Now, increasingly, what we have seen is cybersecurity companies have become, I would say, investigators when they are looking at nation state. They are investigating nation state threat actors. They are acting as mediators when it comes to ransomware negotiations, as well as when it comes to looking at and working on cyber extortion cases, right? So increasingly, this ecosystem is all coming together, and I believe governments are closely working with cybersecurity, and the need is for all of these entities to work together. Now, when we talk about India, right, India specifically, now India has rising digital ambitions, rightly so, and there's quite a few initiatives that's out there, right, whether it's Digital India, the India Stack, or even our own, I would say, thriving startup ecosystem that we have, which basically places India at the center of global, I would say, cyber risk, but that also gives us an opportunity, right? Now, what I believe India needs is we need to update and modernize our national cybersecurity strategy. We need to have a unified national cyber threat intelligence platform, right? Which brings in data from our defense, our law enforcement, our critical infrastructure, right? All similar to what we have seen in the US that's happening. For example, the US has the US Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative, USJCDC, which is instituted by an agency, the CISA, and that's doing amazingly well in terms of bringing all the different, I would say, sensors and threat intel together into one platform. So we need something similar in India so that we can bring in data points from government, from telecommunication companies, banks, energy, healthcare, cybersecurity firms, cloud providers all together. So we have a unified threat intel platform that we can action against, work with. The second one that I would say is India is and needs to focus on our cyber talent, right? So if you look at today, India is facing a cyber talent shortfall. With what is estimated is we would need almost 1.5 to 2 million professionals in over the next 3 to 5 years, right? For that, we would need to start building our national cyber talent pipeline, right? What that means is we need to start introducing cybersecurity curriculum from school onwards and not just as electives from college. And some of the best, I would say, cyber companies that we see out there in terms of capabilities happen to be in the US and more so in Israel now. Now, India needs to invest in our indigenous capabilities to strengthen our sovereign capabilities when it comes to endpoint detection and response, security information, and event management, secure chipsets, AI ML powered threat defense solutions. And for this, I think we need to incentivize, as a country, we need to incentivize innovation by either providing tax breaks or grants or even setting up our defense system, I would say cyber defense system accelerators, right? Startup accelerators. I think we can also, India should also take active participation. I know we are doing it, but I think we need to do even more in terms of in groups such as the G20 Digital Economy Working Group or even the Indo-Pacific Quad for cybersecurity discussions. I think we have an opportunity to shape how the regional as well as global cybersecurity forces are shaped, right? And we are at a time when India can shape the future of global cybersecurity, and now is the time for us to take it and do it.
Sticking to the cyber talent part of it, clearly, I mean, it's like it's a world that not many were prepared for.
Yep.
But as a leader yourself, how do you ensure that your cyber talent workforce, they're not just reacting to the threats, the imminent threats, but they're also responding to the changing rules of the global game. And for you, what are some of the qualities that are non-negotiable for a cybersecurity professional?
Okay, yeah, nice. That's a great question, right? And I'll use one term that you asked in at the start of the interview, right, which is about foresight. So I believe leaders, and for us to inculcate leaders in the cyber organization, cyber function, or even organization across the board, is leaders would need foresight along with being more agile, right? Operational agility. Yeah. I think that those two blended together is something that is needed for us to build in that leadership pipeline. We also need to ensure that our leaders are systems thinkers and are risk-aware communicators, right? Because if I look at leaders and the right set of, I would say, key traits that we should look for in inculcating, building, and suggesting, recommending would be foresight, like you mentioned, right? And what that is more around is anticipating risks, cascading risks that may come from your supply chains, that might come from your cloud infrastructure, or even geopolitical forces, right? Leaders should have composure under pressure, because today crisis is a new norm for leaders, right? And how leaders are able to handle crisis, their teams, their organizations, will go a long way. The next one, like I said, is systems thinking, right? What I mean by that is organizations and leaders need to start thinking about the first order, second order effects, right? Understand how your people, your process, your tech, as well as policy and geopolitical forces, how do they interact and counteract when you make a decision? That's going to be key. The third one, the fourth one that I like to talk about is narrative fluency, or what I call is the ability to convert or translate risk into stories, right? Because not everyone understands risk. So you need to convert it into story that you can then go tell the board, go tell the regulator and engineer, so you're able to convey why something is important, why this is risky, and why we need to action, and why this is probably priority next versus doing all at one go. And the last one I would say is collaborative, right? I would say being collaborative or inclusive collaboration. Cyber is interdisciplinary, right? Which means we need to work across legal teams, we need to work across product teams, risk teams, as well as communications teams. So all of these teams, we need to work together. Finally, I think as a leader, we need to ensure we build a culture that rewards psychological safety and learning, right? So especially organizations and cultures where team members feel they can discuss cyber incidents, they can discuss failures and even near misses openly and learn from them. We've found those organizations and those leaders to be more resilient compared to every other organization out there.
Pradeep, my final question will be slightly again zoomed out, broader view. The promise of AI in cybersecurity is as immense as probably its threat, right? So how do you see the attack and defense both being sharpened by AI in cybersecurity?
Okay, yeah. That's a question that I think keeps everyone up at night, right? More on the opportunities as well as I would say the cons of it as well. But I believe the forces of AI is going to shape cybersecurity, right? In terms of how it's going to evolve. So we're going to change how we defend, how we detect, as well as how we negotiate cyber risks. I think more so I'll talk from the point of defenders first, right? I think when we look at our teams as we are defending against cyber risks, AI is going to be a game changer for us, right? Today we have augmented security. That's going to transform into autonomous security through AI. What I mean by that is now AI systems are going to automatically isolate, I would say, malicious devices or devices that have been infected. They're going to rewrite firewall rules in real time, and they're going to initiate kill chains all at the same time without human oversight, but under policy guardrails, right? That's when it will all work right. I also believe AI is going to support security leaders and executive leaders with decision making, because you would need to have risk trade-offs, right? AI is going to enable us to understand what is the reputational impact of a particular incident or even that's happening right now as it's materializing. It needs to quantify what are the financial risks to me as an organization, and the compliance pressures I'm going to face, right? That all of this together is going to help me make an active, informed decision. I also believe AI is going to enable us to look at risks differently as well, right? It's gonna make us more. It's gonna make going back to the cyber talent issue, right? So we are facing a cyber talent shortage, and AI along with humans or cyber professionals combined together is going to be the new defender of against cyber risks, if you would. Um, so I believe all of these are going to fundamentally shape how the global forces are shaping up cybersecurity. Now, this is not just going to help cyber defenders, right? It's also going to be helping adversary as well as attackers. And we've also started seeing it happen right now as well, right? So if you look at phishing, now generative AI is already supercharging voice cloning as well as deepfake video scams, right? Now that's only going to get even more sophisticated going forward. We also believe AI-based malware is going to adapt and learn to evade systems in real time. We had an incident of that, a report of that coming up that Ukraine right now reported about a potential threat actor, APT28 based, that's Russia based, using something similar in terms of an AI-based malware, if you would. So it's starting, and I believe that's going to soon become the norm, right? And for leaders, what it means for leaders is we shouldn't look at AI as just another tool, right? AI is a terrain that we all need to master and conquer, unfortunately. And we would have to, I would say, actively be engaged in both threat intel consortiums as well as, I would say, AI safety coalitions by being part of this so that we can stay ahead, right? So in the coming years, I would say for us as leaders, I think it is more important for us to be operationally agile rather than looking for perfection, right? Because the biggest risk I think that organizations and leaders will face is not just delayed adoption of AI, but delayed adoption without foresight.
Clearly, right, in the age of AI, I think the real test of tech will not only be what it can create, but what it can contain.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.